Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. A month ago, I did a video, Texas government, no more work breaks. Texas bill strikes down labor laws granting workers breaks. And admittedly, I'm using very inflammatory rhetoric in the title because this is how it was reported in the news. And one of the things that I pointed out in this video is that there seems to be a little bit of creating the news there because, again, as an employer myself, even if I enter my greediest Scrooge McDuck mindset, I can't imagine denying people breaks to drink water once every 4 hours so that I can make more money. If I do that to employees in 110-degree heat, my employees will either walk off the job, in which case nothing gets done, or they will actually listen to me, they will go to the hospital and they will die, in which case the job doesn't get done. Either way, in my own greedy asshole self-interest, as a business owner, as a boss, I give people the time to drink water when they want to drink water because that is the sensible thing to do if I want them to work and make me money. So this did raise an eyebrow with me. For those who didn't watch the initial video, I'm not going to go through the whole 15 minutes. The TLDR of House Bill 2127 is that it does not allow local governments to enact ordinances related to business, natural resources, finance, commerce, insurance, construction, and labor. It looks like the cities are actually suing the Texas state government over it, which in my opinion is a fine thing to do. Philosophically speaking, I genuinely do believe that if you are a city and you are in a state that believes in small government, local government, don't tread on me, step on snack, all this type of stuff, that you should be allowed to create your own local ordinances and that the state should not be able to say you're not allowed to do that. This is really a case of a Schrodingers Neck. Essentially, the city government is saying the state government is trying to tread on me by saying I cannot enact a local ordinance. However, the state government is saying we are stepping on the city's neck so that the city's neck does not step on the business neck. So essentially, you have a case of Schrodinger's Neck here, which is a real philosophical debate to have. Does the state government step on the city's freedom in order to prevent the city from stepping on the business owner's freedom kind of thing? So essentially, if a city like Austin or Dallas were to create an ordinance and this ordinance were stricter than an ordinance created at the state level, the state could knock that ordinance down at the city level and say you're not allowed to create an ordinance that is stricter than the state ordinance. Now, there are three things that are going on here all at the same time, and this tends to be a standard pattern. There is reporting the news. House Bill 2127 doesn't allow local government to enact ordinances related to blah, blah, blah at the city level. There is reporting the news with commentary. There is House Bill 2127 is ironic because you have a conservative government that typically tends to believe in local government that is here trying to strike down what the local government does and have big daddy state government come in and tell them what to do. That's news with commentary. And then you have creating the news, which is a little bit of what I think is going on here. Creating the news is when you see that this House bill would then strike down local ordinances. So you go out of your way to look for a local ordinance that 99% of the population is going to agree with. Something like in Austin or Dallas, if you are working outside, every 4 hours, you get 10 minutes to drink water. Who's going to disagree with that? Who's going to disagree with that? I want my employees to be drinking water every 10 minutes, not every 4 hours. And they work indoors. Nobody's going to disagree with something like that. And then you say, because this bill could technically override this ordinance, that means that this bill's intention was to override this ordinance specifically because the governor doesn't want people drinking water because he wants them to die, which is why we will call it the Death Star Bill, which is what it is being reported as all over the media. House Bill 2127 means that state ordinances are not allowed to be overridden by city ordinances that are more restrictive in these particular fields. Texas Death Star Bill seeks to kill workers because come on, in an ad-supported media environment, ain't nobody gonna get any money off of the former. There is no CPM, and House Bill 2127 says this. There's a good amount of CPM in a Death Star. So I did a lot of searching and digging here. And the thing is, you will find cases of people that die as a result of being in the heat. And what's very interesting is that some of these cases are in areas like San Antonio, where you do not have this type of ordinance. And in others, you're finding it in areas where they do have this ordinance, like Dallas. This was a citation in one of the articles referring to this as the Death Star Bill. And this is occurring in an area that at this particular point in time, I do believe was actually operating under the ordinance that every 4 hours you had to be allowed to drink water. And here's the thing that I find. You will find many cases of people who worked outside in the heat who die. And again, my heart goes out to them. I am sorry this happened. I am not happy this happened, and I would like to prevent that from happening into the future. At the same time, I have not found a single article, and please, if you find it, comment with it. I will pin your comment, and I will correct myself. I have not found a single article that says the employee wanted to drink water. The boss said you are not allowed to drink water, and then the employee died. Many of these articles say it was very hot outside, the person was working, and they wound up dying. But I can't find a single citation of a boss that said you are not allowed to drink water. You need to finish digging this hole. You need to finish running this conduit. You need to finish framing this side of the bedroom or whatever the hell, and then you can drink water. And the reason I think that is because I don't believe that happens. I am completely open to being wrong here, and if I am, I will pin the comment. It's just, again, as a greedy business owner, if my employees are in the hospital, if they are dead, or if they quit, that house is not getting framed, that conduit's not getting run, the pool is not being built. Like, it's common sense that if you are greedy as an employer, there are many, 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 many ways to nickel and dime your employees. Telling them that they cannot drink water when it's 112 degrees outside is not one of them. This bill just passed, which means technically in Austin, this whole you can take 10 minutes off to drink water every 4 hours is no longer a functioning ordinance. And there were people doing construction right across the street from my store. They were digging a little Shawshank Redemption-like hole. I don't know where it was to, but I walk by, say hi, how's it going every now and then. If I'm walking by my store and I see these people are drinking water way more often than every 4 hours, and I don't see anybody telling them no. Because again, as a business owner, it is against your self-interest to have your employees die. It's against your self-interest to tell them you're not allowed to drink water when it's 110 degrees out there, and it's really difficult to find cases of this actually happening. So it seems like, to some extent, that many of these outlets do appear to be creating the news in this instance by finding an ordinance that no sane person would disagree with, pointing out that this bill technically cuts against that, which it does, and then using that to name it the Death Star bill. So you have one here where a gentleman was seemingly having a heat stroke. In an interview, Espinoza said he dragged his friend back into the truck, began removing his clothing and pouring water on him to cool him. Espinoza watched as delirium set in. Infante was no longer the quiet, good-natured confidant he normally was. Rather, he was angry and confused. In an interview, Espinoza said that he dragged his friend back into the truck, began removing his clothing and pouring water on him to cool him. Espinoza watched as delirium set in. Infante was no longer the quiet, good-natured confidant he normally was. Rather, he was angry and confused. The family's lawsuit alleges that Infante fell twice and hit his head on concrete while struggling to orient himself amid his confusion. While it was clear to Espinoza the heat was affecting his friend, the foreman said Infante's behavior indicated he must have been on drugs, according to the lawsuit, and they called the police rather than an ambulance. And they had no policies or systems in place to safeguard workers from the heat. Employees were not trained in how to identify or handle heat stroke signs or symptoms, and that the work site didn't have a shaded canopy or hydration station. This is tragic, and my heart goes out to the family of the individual involved. It is really a tragedy, and I'm sorry that it happened. At the same time, this is being cited when discussing a local ordinance that says every 4 hours you need to allow your employee 10 minutes to drink water. Nowhere in this entire article is it ever pointed out that the foreman said, you're not allowed to drink water. You go back to running conduit. You go back to running wire. You go back to laying bricks. No water for you. It says that the employees were not trained on how to identify or handle heat stroke signs or symptoms. But the ordinance that's being criticized for being removed is for breaks every 4 hours. Has nothing to do with employees being trained on how to handle heat stroke signs or symptoms. No shaded canopy. Again, the ordinance doesn't say anything about a canopy. And again, in this case, the foreman sounds like kind of a dick. Yeah, they called the police because they thought the guy was on drugs rather than calling an ambulance. Kind of a dick. I'm not going to say anything there. But did he deny the guy the right to drink water? No. And this is the point. In none of these articles that I'm finding am I finding a case of a single job foreman that said you are not allowed to drink water. I'm not finding that. And I find it weird that none of these news outlets are seemingly aware of that when talking about this as a story. I don't agree with the Texas House bill, but simultaneously, I don't feel the need to create the news at the same time. The argument in favor of this is, as it says in one of these articles, local ordinances mandating water breaks for workers outdoors passed in Austin in 2010 and in Dallas in 2015. They have contributed to a significant decrease in annual heat-related illnesses and deaths. Since 2011, annual workplace heat-related illness numbers have dropped by 78%, while workplace heat-related deaths have cut in half. San Antonio considered a similar ordinance before the Death Star zapped its chances. Now, this is also very interesting because many of the other articles that I was reading in this very video that were reporting on this bill, we're talking about the fact that heat deaths have been up in the past 5 to 6 years, that it's going up and up and up and up and up, yet here they're saying it's going down and down. So I guess it depends on how you measure it and what your source is. And this is what really starts to answer the question for me. District 4 Councilwoman Adriana Rocha Garcia in San Antonio brings it up. This culture of machismo pride is alive and well, Rocha Garcia said, and unfortunately men especially think they should continue to work on because they might be seen as weak if they don't, or they're worried about impressing their bosses. Now, I am just going to speak for myself. I cannot speak for other people. I thirsty? I drink. I don't care what my boss thinks, and I don't think my employees do either. My employees want to impress the customers. They want to seem like they're doing good work. They're going to take time off to eat and drink whenever they want to eat and drink. I believe that there is probably some machismo culture, and I'll leave this to you because, again, I'm not a construction person. Do you believe that people are so machismo with themselves that they would literally dehydrate themselves to death for a day laborer job? Like, they would literally dehydrate themselves to death because they don't want to be seen as a sissy. That's a tough pill for me to swallow. Now, one comment that came up many times in my last video is, why don't people bring up other states that do not have these ordinances? Why don't they bring up other states where they are just following under OSHA guidelines rather than local ordinances? Why isn't OSHA good enough? I mean, in other states, you don't have as many deaths as Texas does related to the heat. Texas leads the country in heat-related deaths when workers are working outdoors. We are by far ahead of the rest of the country there. And it makes sense because it's very hot here. You are going to have more heat-related deaths here than you do in New Hampshire, where their idea of a summer is, oh, it's 78 degrees today. There's a reason that it's happening here. The other thing is that local ordinances put in place standards that may prevent death instead of finding your business after somebody dies. You must give workers 10 minutes of time every 4 hours is different from, we will fine you $13,000 after somebody has died. So in this article, they are talking about somebody who has died as a result of working in extreme heat, and it looks like the business that did this got a $13,000 fine. And again, requiring that they take breaks to drink water in the heat, that is something that may prevent death. A $13,000 fine if somebody dies, that's, when it comes to human life, preventative maintenance rather than a fine after the fact tends to be the best way to go. So I can understand why local governments would want to create these types of ordinances rather than rely on OSHA, because they're more interested in keeping the worker alive than they are in fining the company after the worker has died. Personally, I'm on the side of the cities that are suing the state here. I understand the idea that they want local government, and I believe in local government. I believe that you should be allowed to do what it is you want in your city without having the state coming in and saying you're not allowed to do it. I see the state side, which is, we believe in limited government so much that we are going to use our power as the big state government to ensure that your small government stays small, and we are going to do that. We are going to ensure that you cannot create ordinances on others by creating an ordinance on you. This really does become a case of, again, what I call Schrodinger's snake, where you are stepping on a snake so that that snake cannot step on another snake, and it's just a mess all around. I believe that an area that has 2 million people is going to require different rules than a town that has 3,000 people. Mason, Texas, Iran, Texas is going to be different than Houston, Texas, or Dallas, Texas. There are going to be different rules necessary for when you have 800,000 people in the space versus when you have 1,000 people in the space. And if you want to do business or work in the area that has 1,000 people, you can do that. And if you want to work in the area that has 800,000 or 2 million people, you can do that. I think it's somewhat hypocritical for the state government to say, we believe in local and limited government until you do something we don't like, in which case we will come in with our big dick state government and tell you what you can and cannot do. Now, I do understand, trust me, I am very sympathetic to the idea that what they are trying to do is prevent Austin, Dallas, and Houston from becoming New York City or San Francisco. As a man who got fucked by New York City for many, many years because they have no idea how to govern and they have no idea how to deal with businesses, as a man who to this day is being fucked over by New York City government, even though I don't live there or do business there anymore. I am very sympathetic to the idea that you do not want to allow Austin or Dallas or Houston or other cities in Texas to become New York City. Trust me, I get that deeply in my soul. I just don't think this is the way to do it. This seems like a very hypocritical way to go about it. I see what they're trying to do, but I don't think that the solution to keeping Austin, Houston, or Dallas from becoming New York City is tyranny. It seems like a very hypocritical way to go about it, and more importantly, it just doesn't seem like the right way to go about it. What would be the right way to go about it? I'm curious. I'll turn the question over to all of you. What do you think of all this? And what do you think would be the right way to go about ensuring that Austin or Houston or Dallas don't become New York City or San Francisco? I don't want to deal with the ex that never leaves in my home. Hell, there's a reason that New York City is my ex. But I don't want that to happen here. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.